Hi everyone, welcome back to Learn with me. I'm Deborah Hanson, and today we're going to be looking at the key terms for AP Psychology Unit 4.3, Psychology of Social Situations. So in this video, we're going to look at all the key terms that go with this particular section of Unit 4. We're going to look at definitions, and we're going to look at real life examples. So this is so that you can make your flashcards or your note cards or write them in your notebook, whatever you need to do. You know that you need to know these key terms for the exam. So this is supposed to make it easy for you, okay? Hopefully it does. So thank you so much, everybody who's subscribed to the channel already. I really appreciate it. And if you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button if you can and hit the like button. And if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in. I promise I will answer you. Okay, so let's get started. So we're going to look at a lot of key terms today. So we're going to go through all of the key terms, definition, and example. And then I'll go through a list, just the list from start to finish, just to make sure that you have all of these key terms written down somewhere. We're going to start with social norms. So, the definition of social norms is shared rules or expectations about how people should behave in specific social situations. For example, standing quietly in an elevator facing the door instead of speaking loudly or facing backwards. Social influence theory. The definition is explains how individuals are influenced by social pressure to behave or think in a certain way. For example, a student changes their opinion during a class discussion to align with the majority's views. That would be your social influence. Normative influence. Influence that leads individuals to conform in order to gain approval or avoid disapproval from others. So, for example, dressing like your peers at school just so you can fit in. Informational influence. Influence that leads individuals to conform because they believe others have more accurate information. So, for example, following others during an evacuation because they seem to know the safest route. Persuasion. This is a technique used to convince others to adopt certain beliefs or behaviors. For example, a charity uses emotional stories to persuade people to donate. The halo effect. This is the tendency to let an overall positive impression of someone influence judgments about unrelated traits. So, for example, assuming that someone is intelligent because they're physically attractive. Foot in the door technique. Persuasion strategy where a small initial request is followed by a larger one. For example, asking someone to sign a petition, then later asking them for a donation. Door in the face technique. Persuasion strategy where a large, unreasonable request is followed by a smaller, more reasonable one. So, for example, asking for a $100 donation, then settling for $10 after the larger request is denied. Conformity. Adjusting one's behavior or beliefs to match those of a group. For example, agreeing with a group's answer in a discussion, even if you think it's wrong, just to avoid conflict. Obedience. Following orders or instructions from an authority figure. For example, listening to a teacher's directives to turn in an assignment on time. Individualism. A cultural orientation that prioritizes personal goals and independence over group goals, preferring a career that aligns with personal interests, even if it means moving away from your family. Collectivism. A cultural orientation that prioritizes group goals and interdependence over personal goals. For example, choosing a career that benefits the family or community, even if it's not your personally preferred choice. Multiculturalism. The coexistence and respect for diverse cultural traditions within a society. For example, a community celebrating multiple cultural holidays such as Diwali and Christmas. Groupthink. The desire for group harmony leads to poor decision making by suppressing dissenting opinions. So, for example, a business team agrees on a flawed project plan to avoid conflict, even though some members privately disagree. Diffusion of responsibility. This is reduced accountability felt by individuals in group settings leading to inaction. For example, assuming someone else will call 911 in an emergency because there are many people around. Social loafing. This is the tendency for individuals to exert less effort in a group task compared to working alone. For example, contributing minimally to a group project, assuming others will do more. Deindividuation. The loss of self-awareness and restraint in group settings, often leading to impulsive behavior. For example, participating in vandalism during a large protest. Social facilitation. Improved performance on simple tasks or decreased performance on complex tasks when in front of an audience. For example, performing well on a practice speech but struggling with a new topic during a presentation. False consensus effect. Overestimating the extent to which others share your beliefs or behaviors. For example, believing everyone supports a certain political candidate just because you do. Superordinate goals. These are shared goals that require cooperation between groups, reducing tension and promoting unity. For example, rival schools working together to raise funds for a local charity. Social traps. Situations where individuals act in their own self-interest, harming the group in the long term. If, for example, overusing water during a drought, leading to resource depletion for everyone else. Industrial organizational psychology. This is the study of behavior in workplace settings, focusing on productivity, relationships, and well-being. For example, implementing team building exercises to improve collaboration. Altruism. Selfless behavior aimed at helping others without expecting personal benefit. For example, donating anonymously to a charity. Social reciprocity norm. The expectation to return favors or help those who have helped you. So, for example, lending money to a friend who previously helped you. Social responsibility norm. A societal rule that individuals should help those who depend on them or are in need, even when they receive no direct benefit in return. It emphasizes an obligation to assist others based on empathy or moral duty. So, for example, a person sees an elderly neighbor struggling to carry groceries and decides to help them, even though they won't receive anything in return. The bystander effect. The tendency to be less likely to help in an emergency when others are present. For example, failing to help a stranger in a crowded park because you assume someone else will intervene. Okay, so let's go through the list just to make sure you have all of these either on your note cards, in your notebook, however you decided to do this, okay? Social norms, social influence theory, normative influence, informational influence, persuasion, the halo effect, foot in the door technique, conformity, obedience, individualism, collectivism, multiculturalism, group polarization, groupthink, diffusion of responsibility, social loafing, deindividuation, social facilitation, false consensus effect, superordinate goals, social traps, industrial organizational psychology, altruism, social reciprocity norm, social responsibility norm, the bystander effect. Okay, and that's all I have for the key terms for 4.3. So we're just going to keep going with Unit 4. If you want to hear all the information that you have to know for Unit 4.3, I have those on separate videos where we go through the CED questions and we go through all the essential knowledge that you need to know that. There's also a workbook and slideshows that you can purchase through my Teacher Pay Teacher Store, which has all the information you're going to need for the unit. The links are down below. So hope that you found this helpful. If you did, hit the like button and that subscribe button for me. It really does help me a lot and I appreciate it so much. So thanks for listening. See you next time.